Alright, today we're going to do Tutorial A, which is an introduction to Visual Studio and C#. I'm assuming you've installed Visual Studio. I know you're using a later version, most likely, than I am, which is 2013. That's okay, hopefully it's not too different. So if you go in the folder, you'll see two documents, PDF or Word doc, whichever one you like. I think I'll grab the PDF. I'm going to kind of dock it on the side so that I know I'm not going to be able to keep everything on the screen all at once. You're going to need to just open this yourself rather than try to, read it on the screen. On the other hand, hopefully from the video you'll be able to follow along without even looking at it. But if you get stuck, check the documentation. Alright, what are we going to do? We're going to open a new project, a C# project. So we're going to go to New Project. And we're not doing C++, we're doing Visual C#. And what we want is a console application. So I'm going to choose console application. And if you've done Windows programming or Java programming or Python programming, you know what a console application is. It doesn't have nice GUIs and drop-down menus and stuff like that. It's just scrolling text on a screen. Okay, there's a few things that we want to do to kind of make our development environment a little bit better. Let's get the build and the debug menu out if they are not already out there. So up here on the toolbar, right click on your menu bar, on your toolbar, and choose build. And you'll see a couple new buttons pop up there. Drag that over onto the next row so it's super easy to find. I'll zoom in on this when we're actually going to edit some text. Then do the same thing, right click on debug. The debug menu will pop up. Go and drag this next to the build menu. Build toolbar. There we go. We're not going to use hardly any of these today, but we will use one of the buttons. We will do build solution. The application kind of interchangeably uses the terms solution and project. So if I call it a project and the menu option says solution, please just understand that they're the same thing. Notice that we did file new project rather than file new solution. So they're inconsistent as well. Okay, one more thing we want to do maybe is to enable line numbers. To do that, we're going to go into Tools, Options, scroll down to Text Editor. From Text Editor, we're going to choose General. Or is it all languages? Yes, we're going to choose Text Editor, all languages, and then there's a checkbox for line numbers. Do you need that? Nah. Is it useful? Yeah, I think it is so. I think so. I like seeing the line numbers. There we go. Alright, let's check our document, see where we need to be. Okay, we've done the customized Visual Studio. We need to make sure the Solution Explorer is visible. If you load it up and it kind of looks like this without Solution Explorer visible, that's a problem. If that's the case, go up to View, Solution Explorer. Then the Solution Explorer is back. We're back in the saddle. Alright, why do we need this? This is where we can change the preferences for our program. We can go, and if we have more than one file, we can toggle between them. Right now we only have one file, program.cs, CS standing for C#. But we want to make one more change. We're going to add some command line arguments to our debugging. What are command line arguments? Well, if you have a command line program, like if I type dir, great, it does some directory, but I can type in additional commands to control how dir works. For example, if I want to sort things by date, I can do dir/od. That's what's known as a command line argument. I think I was just calling it a command line parameter. Both terms are used. Argument is the correct term as far as this editing user interface is called. So let's add some. We're going to come over here to Console Application 1, right click on that bold line under Solution Explorer, choose Properties. We need to find the Debug tab. I don't see what I'm looking for here, so I'm going to go back to my instructions. Under Debug, we should see Start Options, Command Line Parameters. Oh, it's right there. Excuse me, Command Line Arguments. Okay, so Debug, Start Options, Command Line Argument. Now, I don't really care what you type in as long as it has a phrase in quotes. My instructions say, Jar Jar Binks, end quote, is the best, quote, in a beginning quote, Star Wars character. And I know that's really small print, but what it says is, quote, Jar Jar Binks, end quote, is the best, beginning quote, Star Wars, end quote, character. I just want you to have like 2 words or more that are enclosed in a pair of quotes, double quotes, so that you can see what it looks like when it runs. Alrighty, kind of done with the properties. I'm going to close the little properties tab. Or I could just tab over to program.cs, but I don't need properties tab for the rest of this assignment. Alrighty, we have a program here. All of this is boilerplate that got created when we created the project. Visual Studio added it all for us. Now, if you've taken a C++ class, you may remember, if you took it from me, that when we created an empty project, we didn't have any boilerplate at all, and we kept typing it in. This gives us some boilerplate, but it gives us a little bit too much. We don't need all of these using statements. In C++, we called them #include. In Java, we use import. In this language, they use the term using. We're going to delete all 4, everything except for the using system. There. That's just a little bit of cleanup. Would it have been necessary to do that? Would it work without it? Yeah, it would work just fine. But there's no reason to have additional libraries being imported that we don't want. Alrighty, I don't have this code memorized, so I have to go and pull back up the PDF. Oh, I am very sorry. I meant to zoom this in larger text. So what we did is we just deleted the using system lines. Excuse me, the using statements, other than the first one. So, looking at the PDF, here we go. We're going to place some code between the curly braces that begin and end the main program. You see this code right here? Int n is equal to args.length and stuff like that. That's all the stuff that we need. I'm going to kind of see if I can get both of these on the screen at the same time without making things look really horrible. Let's just see if I can do that. Alrighty, maybe that's enough for me to get away with. Alrighty, so inside the main function, inside the body of code there, I'm going to declare an integer, n, which is going to be equal to the number of arguments. Now that we are using arrays. If you don't remember how to use arrays or you haven't used them yet, that's okay. We're just typing in code at this point, kind of trusting the force. We'll get to arrays if you haven't done them before. The command line arguments are stored in an array so that we can step through them. Okay, console.writeLine, we're going to write line a message. This takes the place of cout or system.out.print in Java. We're using console.writeLine. Here we go, and we're going to do number of parameters is equal to, and I will zoom in on that in just a moment. Alrighty. Number of, and I'm going to change that to arguments because that's really what they are. In fact, it says args here. I need to retrain myself from saying parameters. Number of arguments is equal to, and then a curly brace, still inside the quotes, 0, and a closing curly brace. Now we're not done yet. We need to put on a comma. I'm going to go to the next line. Well, I'm going to put the comma here after the quote and then go to the next line. You can put it all in one line. Now I kind of wish I'd put it all on one line. I'm going to do that. Alrighty, there we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. console.writeLine, and then there's a string here. The string includes this brace, 0 brace. What is that? That's a placeholder. This value, this variable, when we send it to the screen, is going to fill in this placeholder. Just like if you've used printf, or if you use the %sign in a Python print. What's a 0? Well, this is the first value that's going to be printed. Okay, now we need a for loop because we're going to step through all the arguments. The argument is an array, so we need a counter, or we could use a for each loop, but we're just going to use a counter. For int I is equal to 0, and the syntax is exactly the same as it is in C++ and Java. I is less than the number of arguments, I++, and inside that for loop we need a body of code, so I put a brace, and it's going to be another write-line statement. Console.out, excuse me, I slipped into Java there. Console.writeLine parentheses, and we want one little placeholder, so curly brace 0 curly brace is equal to curly brace 1 end curly brace. I think I got that pretty close. Yep. Not really liking the way I did that here. I'm going to modify it a little bit. If you just follow the instructions, it's fine, but I'm going to modify it a little bit. I'm going to print out I here, and then I want to print out the array value at that index. So it's going to say 1 is equal to, or excuse me, it's going to start at 0. 0 is equal to this argument, 1 is equal to that argument, and so on. We are just about done. We're going to put a return statement at the bottom. So here's what we did. We added all this stuff. If there weren't any command line arguments, the for loop's not going to do anything because I will always be, will never be less than n. But we did add some command line arguments. Now let's build it. You can build it from over here into the little build menu. If you hover your cursor, you see build solution or build console application. Either one of those will work. Or you can choose build solution or rebuild solution from the build menu. Either one of them work. If you don't want to use these toolbars, that's fine. If you want to get rid of those toolbars, that's fine. There'll be times perhaps when I want us to re-enable the debug bar, even if you get rid of it. All right. I don't think I had any errors. I think it says successful. I want you to see what it looks like if there's an error, so I'm going to go into the for loop and remove one of the semicolons. Doesn't really matter. I'm just introducing a syntax error. Notice that now we have a little red underline there showing that there's a syntax error. I'm going to pretend I don't notice it, and I'm going to do a rebuild solution, and I get an error list. See the error list, the word error here? If you don't have that error list, if for some reason it got closed, you can find it under View, Error List, just like we had to do View Solution Explorer if the Solution Explorer gets closed. So View Error List, here it is. It said a semicolon expected. It even tells us what line number. Line number 11. That makes it real easy to zero in on it. I see line number 11. I see the I there. It's underlined. And doesn't tell us exactly what's wrong, but this does, this description. Sometimes it's more cryptic than this, but it was expecting a semicolon. So I'm going to put the semicolon back. Now, if you already had another error, then you may, you just have to recheck the PDF to try to figure out what's different. The only thing different between what I did and what the PDF shows is I had the word parameters here. And I don't just want to repeat the word parameters, so I'm going to leave it as I have made it here. But the PDF is fine as well. Let's run it. Notice the green start arrow. Maybe it's a different color on yours. Start. And boom, it disappeared. We didn't get to see the output. That is really annoying. I would think that by default it ought to keep the output window, but this is common to most languages. We need to stick a line of code in front of the return statement. That will let us get it to pause. Now in C++ we did a system parentheses pause. We're not going to do that. We're not going to make any calls to the underlying operating system. That doesn't work on Macs anyway. So let's find out what we do need to put in it. console.readline. So it's just going to sit there waiting for them to hit enter. And it's not going to even tell them that they're waiting to hit enter. We ought to print a message, you know. Console.writeLine done. How about that? We're going to tack that on. Press enter. That's not on the PDF, but it's nice to let them know what they need to do. And then console.readline. This takes the place of using CIN in C++, the input statement in Python, or the scanner in Java. All right, let's run it again. Now it won't close the window. There's our window. Going to make it a little bit larger.
How is it getting it from the properties in our debug properties?
Right, so the question is how did these things, how did these words, how did these arguments get from the properties into the program? Well, when we build a program, it generates an exe. And then when we run the debugger tacks on these command line arguments after the exe, just like we were going to run it from the command prompt. You know what, I'm not sure that I named the application the right thing. It was supposed to be called CS_A, and I don't recall if I did that. No, I left it as program.cs. If you follow the instructions exactly, it should say CS_A for C# tutorial A. I don't really care. Be nice to have a consistent naming scheme though. So anyways, you know, if I was going to run the program, I would type program and then I would type some command line arguments. You know, my name is Slim Shady, whatever. And they would show up here. Instead, I set them in properties because I'm not running it from the command line myself. Visual Studio is. And we can see them. Notice that the things that were in quotes are multiple words. So something in quotes counts as a single command line argument. So the word Jar Jar Binks is a single command line argument. And then is the best, then Star Wars we also had in quotes. So both of those words are a single command line argument. Alrighty, I hope that made sense. The next thing we want to do is to take a screenshot and to upload a zip of the project.
Which I know how to do, so.
Okay, so if you read the instructions, you'll see that I really want you to upload two things. A screenshot of the program running. That way, you're proving that the program ran. If I can't get it to run, you still have the screenshot to prove that it ran on your machine. And a zip of the project. Finding the project files is always a little bit of a challenge. It's in a different place on every machine, but it won't be a problem. Okay, so let's get a screenshot of the program running. It looks like I closed it. I'm going to run it again. I'm going to click Start. There's my application. It's sitting there running. Now, how you take screenshots is entirely up to you, especially if you're on a different flavor computer than Windows. But on your keyboard, there should be a print screen button. Click the print screen button. And if you're using Windows 10 or 8 or something, it may automatically save that somewhere. Who cares? Instead, we just want to paste what we just supposedly print screened into a document. Because when you click that button, it places it into the buffer so that you can paste it. So you could either load up Paint or Word. Either one will work. Just load up Paint, Word, and then hit Control V for paste, or click that big paste button. You know how to paste. And there's our screenshot. You don't need to crop it or anything unless you just don't want me to see your toolbar or something like that. That's good enough. So I'm going to do a save and save this to a C# folder, which I apparently haven't made yet. So I'm going to go to my desktop, make a C# folder. New folder, CIT1713 C#. Then I'm going to go into that, and I'm going to save my PNG. Since it was the first tutorial, I'm going to call it cs_a.png. Now I have a screenshot file that I can upload. We also want the code itself. So let's just zip up the whole shebang. Let's get the whole project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the solution. I'm going to click on the File menu, choose Close Solution. There. Everything's gone. I may as well even close Visual Studio because I'm done with it for now. But I need to go and find that project folder where all of these things are stored. Let's see if I remember where they are. I'm going to go and look in Documents. Visual Studio 2013. Alrighty, I'm going to open that up. Under Documents, Visual Studio, there's one called Projects, and it's not there. Alright, so I've made a mistake. I do not know where they're being stored. I'm going to pause the machine while I go and find them. Alright, to find out where they really are stored, I'm going to open that solution back up with the recent projects. So File, Recent Projects. I'm getting my solution again, which should have been called CS_A. Now I just need to find the properties of it, and the properties will tell me where the file is stored. Also, if I did a save as, it'd probably tell me. I've lost my Solution Explorer, so I'm going to do View, Solution Explorer. There's my Solution Explorer. I'm going to right-click on Solution, the line that says Solution. Right-click. Oh, well, there it is. There's Open Folder in File Explorer. So it turns out, okay, mine is in a different directory because I'm also doing C++ development, and I set the default folder for all projects to be C++. So anyways, there it is in mine. I'm going to bop back up a level so that I can get the entire project. There's our projects. Console Application 1 should have been called CSA. I'm not going to rename it here though. I'm just going to go ahead and run with it. So, to make a zip file, you do send to compressed zip folder. And here we could rename it easily, cs_a.zip. That's my zip file. If you're looking at it and it doesn't say .zip, you're going to want to enable file extensions. I'm going to show you how to do it in Windows 7, and I'm quite sure that it's different for Windows 8, Windows 10, whatever. So you may have to Google up enable file extensions Windows 10. But whatever, if you have the Explorer window open, you should be able to find something that says folder options. In my case, it's under an organize menu. Folder and search options. You click on that, you click view, and one of the checkboxes is hide extensions for known file types. You do not want the file types hidden. So we're going to deselect that. If it was selected, then when I was looking at my files, they would have no file extensions, and I might upload the wrong file. So instead, I'm going to deselect the hide extensions, apply OK. So I want to get that CSA zip file up, and then I also want to get that screenshot up. I'm going to move my CSA.zip file into my C# folder so that they'll both be in the same place. Now when I go over there, I see my image file. I happen to make a PNG or bitmap or whatever, I don't care, or if it's a Word doc, that's fine. And then the zip file, and I'm going to upload those into the Dropbox. I'm going to assume you know how to upload things into the Dropbox. So just go find the tutorial A Dropbox in D2L and upload both those files. Alrighty, that concludes this lecture. Text me, call me, or phone me, email me if you have any questions.